Attention visitor, thank you for clicking on this thumbnail, but the dictates of common decency compel me to warn you. This is an audio-only podcast in which our host, Jennifer, goes on and on about a great number of things. Oh, she does throw in some animations and music, but really, it's all quite boring. There is no actual video. I know. Who does that on a video platform? This is boring, I told her. It's an abomination. Oh, she doesn't listen. She hates video, she says. So friends, here we are. Ah, you are about to click away. I support your decision. I mean, what else can you do? Don't forget to subscribe.
A Star is Born has been remade 3 times. Well, it must be the greatest story ever told, right? We're going to find out in tonight's show. Also, I have some Disney news to report from right here in Kansas City. And something on my mind. What's up with hobbies nowadays? Why is there all this pressure on us to sell them? Well, we're going to sort it all out. That signpost up ahead is the Vintage Century Idle Hour. I'll meet you there.
Welcome to our show. And now I bring to you our host, Jennifer Pasariello.
Thank you, Nico. How are you on this lovely evening?
Pretty good.
Good. Please meet Nico, everyone, my AI-generated announcer, producer, and superfan.
Greetings, listeners.
Hey, Nico, about your new producer role.
Yes? It rolls off the tongue now, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know about that. I guess I'm getting somewhat more used to it as we go along.
I knew you would.
Yeah, well, there is something I've been wanting to talk to you about.
What's that?
Well, as a producer, I think it should be mandatory that you watch the films that I talk about on the show.
Oh, I agree.
You do?
Yes, of course.
So, you watched the film?
Yes, of course. It was magnificent.
Really? You liked it, huh?
I really did. I especially liked the bartender. He was a warm presence and a stalwart companion on the character's lonely voyage. Very inspiring.
What?
The bartender.
What bartender?
You know. Oh, what was his name? Arthur. Yes, Arthur.
Nico, what in the world are you talking about? There was no bartender in our film.
Oh, come now, Jennifer. How can you have possibly missed a bartender? He was a critical character in the story.
I don't remember any bartender. We are talking about the same film, right? A Star is Born?
Yes, of course. A Star is Born. That wonderful film helped me discover how much I enjoy science fiction.
What?
I think it's my genre, especially the outer space part. Stars being born in distant galaxies, lonely human beings on a quest to find a home on a new world far, far away. An android bartender who reminds the solitary passengers of the home they left behind. Yes, it's the perfect story in my opinion.
No, stop, Nico. None of that happened in A Star is Born. A Star is Born isn't science fiction. You really need to watch the films I talk about, Nico.
I did. You talked about this in last week's episode. A Star is Born starring Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt. You went on and on about it. You know, the perfect film for introverts, etc.
No, that was Passengers, Nico. Heavens. A Star is Born is about an actress who's discovered and hits it big. I mean, there's more to it than that, but that's the main idea.
Is she a robot?
What? No, of course not.
Are they on a spaceship?
No, Nico.
Does it take place in a dystopian future? Do aliens attack? Is time travel involved?
No, Nico, clearly you didn't watch the film.
I don't understand. How is A Star is Born a science fiction film then?
What in the world? It's not a science fiction film.
Well, why did you say it was?
I didn't say it was. You said it was.
I think you're confused.
So, did you watch a film about a woman who becomes a successful actress?
It doesn't ring a bell. What's the name of it?
film, of course, is A Star is Born. And I kind of feel like this is one of those films that I should have seen years ago. I mean, there's got to be something to this story. There's been so many remakes. There's been 4 of these films altogether. It's almost like every generation has its own version. You know, it's a plot that keeps on giving. I'm thinking, wow, this must be some story to generate that kind of interest. And it always seems to get a lot of accolades. I mean, all 4 versions of A Star is Born has been critically acclaimed, and all 4 were nominated for multiple Academy Awards. Now, our version tonight is the first one, coming all the way from 1937. It stars Janet Gaynor and Frederick March. Now, I haven't seen the other versions, but it's my understanding that the 1937 version is the only one in which the star referred to in the title is an actress. The other stars were singers. Now, the 1954 version was probably the most famous of the 4. That one starred Judy Garland and James Mason in the leading roles. Then we had the 1976 version. That one starred Barbra Streisand and Kris Kristofferson. And of course, most recently, there was that 2018 version with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. Well, we're not going to delve into those subsequent versions. We're going to direct our focus back to the original in 1937. A Star is Born was a Technicolor film. And as I watched it, I kept imagining what theatergoers must have thought of all those glamorous scenes depicted in the film, particularly those of the grounds of this really swanky Hollywood mansion that was the home of the couple in our story, Norman Maine and Vicki Lester. That was the power couple at the center of A Star is Born. Well, they had a beautiful palatial estate, and I can only imagine what those theater goers must have thought when they saw that in color. You know, this film was released in 1937, and the world was still slogging through the Great Depression at that time. And here we had this glamorous couple living in this beautiful home with a stunning pool, lavish gardens. You know, they had a pond with swans swimming around on it, and it was all in living color. What an escape from harsh reality that must have been for the audience. Now, I was actually surprised that this was in color. Until I sat down to watch this film, I was just assuming it was going to be black and white. You know, in my mind, 1939 was the big year for color films. You know, that was the year The Wizard of Oz came out. That was a big deal with the Technicolor, and then Gone with the Wind, of course. But actually, color had been around for several years at that point. The Technicolor Corporation started in 1917, and they'd been steadily perfecting their color processing techniques all along. Black and white films continued to be more common because color was really expensive. I mean, it could quadruple the typical cost of a film. So while the public loved the color, and probably the filmmakers did too, the movie studio executives, well, they were a little bit more hesitant to take on that cost, especially in the Depression era. Now, here's a fairly easy to understand explanation of the process that Technicolor used. This is written by Ryan Lentelman for the National Museum of American History. They actually have some of the old Technicolor equipment on exhibit there. He wrote this: Technicolor wasn't a type of color film. Instead, it was a process in which a specially modified motion picture camera recorded the same scene through colored filters on 3 different strips of film. The strips were then processed separately and then used to transfer colors to the film that they sent to the theaters. If a movie studio wanted to make a film in Technicolor, it had to lease the company's unique movie cameras and then bring in expert consultants to help operate the complicated machinery. Now, that was a pretty good business model for Technicolor. So you couldn't buy the equipment. You had to lease it from them. And you couldn't just operate it on your own. It was too complicated. So you had to hire their consultants to come in and help you. Now, about those consultants, I noticed that in the opening credits for A Star is Born, there was a woman listed there named Natalie Kalmus. Well, she was the wife of Herbert Kalmus, one of the founders of Technicolor, and she was included in the credits for her role as a color consultant. Okay, well, that's about as technical as I want to get, that technical, process that they were using. I don't really want to get any deeper in that. But I am curious about that first Technicolor film. What was it? Well, we have to go all the way back to 1922 for that. It was a silent film, and it actually used a two-color process with red and green. And that film was called The Toll of the Sea. Now, here's what's really cool about this. That film was recently restored, and it can be viewed on YouTube. I went out and had a look, and, honestly, for a movie over 100 years old, I thought the color looked pretty good. I mean, it does sort of skew more toward red and green, but I was surprised by how good that was. Yeah, so color goes back a long way. But as I said, it was really expensive, so it didn't become the standard for films until the late 1960s. Okay, well, now let's turn to the actors of our film. A Star is Born had a working title of It Happened in Hollywood. Now, I can see why they went with A Star is Born. I mean, it sounds pretty dramatic, right? It makes you curious. Who is this emerging star? Well, in this case, our emerging star was played by Janet Gaynor. Now, Janet Gaynor had been a star in real life for many years. In the film, she plays a woman named Esther Blodgett, and then her name is later changed to Vicki Lester when she signs on with a studio. But Janet Gaynor was actually the first recipient of the Academy Award for Best Actress all the way back in 1929. Now, she actually won the award for 3 pictures. They don't do it that way anymore, right? They just really nominate you for a single film. But back then, she was actually nominated for her work across 3 films, Seventh Heaven, Street Angel, and a film called Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans. Now, at the time that A Star is Born was filmed, her star was starting to wane in real life. Janet Gaynor was nearing the end of her career. Now, as I said, she was the first Best Actress Academy Award winner. And what's kind of neat about that is there is a scene in the film where she wins an Academy Award. Her character wins an Academy Award. And in that ceremony, she's holding a statuette. That statuette she's holding is her actual award that she won back in 1929. Okay, so as I said, her star was starting to wane in real life. And in the meantime, her leading man in A Star is Born, Frederick March, well, he was also an established star at that time, but he had not yet reached his zenith in his career. He had many, many films ahead of him, and, he still had a lot of career left at the time that A Star is Born was filmed. So what's really ironic about that is, here we have Janet Gaynor. She's nearing the end of her career. Frederick March, who's, his career is still going strong, and he's going to become an even bigger star. But in the film, those roles are reversed. So Frederick March, who plays Norman Maine in the film, his star is fading, and Janet Gaynor's character, Esther Blodgett / Vicki Lester, couldn't think of her name there for a minute, she was really taking off. So interesting there how real life did not mirror the film and vice versa. It was exactly the opposite. Now, a bit ago, I mentioned how I thought that this film would have been a nice escape for those Depression-era theater goers. Well, I think this was a movie tailor-made for dreamers, too, especially those dreaming of stardom. Several iconic locations in Hollywood were used in the filming. Things like Grauman's Chinese Theater. That's where the hand and footprints of famous stars are. The Hollywood Bowl, Club Tocadero, and the Biltmore Bowl Ballroom at the Millennium Biltmore Hotel for that Academy Award scene. Well, these are places that the audience may have read about in movie magazines, and this film actually gave them a chance to see those places again in color as Esther Blodgett, our character, discovers them as a starlet. So we see her, kind of touring Hollywood at the beginning of the film, and she's just starstruck by all of these scenes. And I can only imagine that the theater goers were the same way. Now, what about that beautiful estate with the swans and the gardens? Well, apparently that was a real home. That was filmed at a home in the Holmby Hills area of Los Angeles. Now, I'm not really all that familiar with Los Angeles. I've been there a couple times, but I was not familiar with Holmby Hills. It turns out that that's a luxury housing development that is still a prized address today. It's one of 3 communities that make up what's called the Platinum Triangle of Los Angeles. What are the other 2 parts of that triangle? Well, the communities of Bel Air and Beverly Hills. Now, I just, out of curiosity, couldn't help myself. I wanted to find out how much the homes are in Holmby Hills. Well, the median list price of homes in that area, get ready, $21 million. Okay, that's a median price. So if you're interested, you might want to start getting that down payment together. You'll need about $4.2 million to get started. There's one more thing I want to mention before we get to the award stats for A Star is Born. Now, if you listened to last week's episode, and chances are very good you did not, I talked about how movies are screened and tested before they're finalized in an effort to gauge how commercially successful they're likely to be. Well, we actually saw this process at work in A Star is Born. There's a scene where Esther Blodgett's first film is pre-screened by an audience. Cards had been distributed to the audience, and then they were told that the film they were about to watch was not edited yet. They were instructed to complete their cards, that would be the ratings cards that we talked about last week, and submit them after the film. The actors and the studio bigwigs were there in the theater too, and they were listening to the comments of the audience as they talked about the film to try to find out if they liked it or not, if they liked the actors, if they liked the story, and so on. Well, that whole scene was played out just as described in that book on the subject that I read, Audienceology. That was pretty cool. I was very surprised to see that in the film. Okay, and now for the stats. A Star is Born was nominated for several Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for March, Best Actress for Gaynor, Best Adaptation, and Best Assistant Director. Now, it didn't win any of those. Those were nominations. But William Wellman and Robert Carson did win for Best Original Story. H. Howard Green won a special award for his color cinematography. Okay, well, I think we can leave the background of A Star is Born right there. Let's take a musical break, and when we come back, we'll dive into the story. Back in a moment.
Please, everyone, listen very carefully to this message. In this portion of our program, Jennifer is going to be laying down all sorts of spoilers and will ruin all of your fun if you have not yet seen the movie. Listener discretion is advised.
As our story opens, we meet Esther Blodgett at the family farm, and we learn that she has a big dream to be a movie star in Hollywood. Now, her family is not supportive. They make fun of her. They can't imagine so big a dream actually coming true. But Esther's grandma is an exception. She's a believer in dreaming big, but she's an even bigger believer in hard work. She gives Esther a little talk in one of the first scenes.
There's a difference between dreaming and doing. The dreamers just sit around and moon about how wonderful it would be if only things were different. And the years roll on and they grow old, and by they forget everything, even about their dreams.
Oh, I don't want to be like that. I want to be somebody.
Oh, yes, you want to be somebody. But you want it to be easy. Oh, you modern girls give me a pain. Could you do it? Could you do it even if it broke your heart? Because remember, Esther, for every dream of yours you make come true, you'll pay the price in heartbreak.
And there's our theme for our story. The price of realized dreams is heartbreak. Well, Grandma gives Esther some money to get started, and Esther makes her way to Hollywood. When she arrives, she tries to get a part, any part, in any film. But there are so many Hollywood hopefuls that the casting agency she goes to stops accepting applications. In fact, there's this big poster as she walks in the door, and it says that they currently have well over 12,000 extras registered with them, which is 16 times as many as they can use. So, it doesn't look very promising. And then she's told by a woman at the agency that her chances of becoming a star are 1 in 100,000. But you know what? Esther is undeterred. Maybe I'm that one, she says. Okay, so let's stop here for a second, because based on everything that we've seen so far, I'm thinking that this movie is going to be all about Esther striving to be a star, working it all out through challenges and difficulties until she ultimately emerges as a star. Well, no, that's not really it. I mean, she just basically runs into some good luck before she hits it big as an overnight success. Now, Esther has a chance encounter. This is where the luck comes in. She has a chance encounter with a big star, Norman Maine. He's at a concert, so is she. They're attending this concert at the Hollywood Bowl, not together with, they're separate. But Norman is drunk and he makes a big scene. And not for the last time in this movie, by the way. We learn that he's an alcoholic. We also learn that he's losing his audience. His career has hit the skids. This is a terrible combination. We've got the alcoholism destroying his career and the destruction of his career creating this vicious cycle of doom. It makes him drink, so he drinks more, his career suffers. His career suffers, he drinks more. Well, Esther meets Norman again when she's waitressing at this fancy Hollywood party. They connect, and the next day he gets his friend Oliver Niles to give her a screen test. Now, Oliver likes her test, and he gives her a contract and a new, more commercially appealing name. Goodbye, Esther Blodgett. Hello, Vicki Lester. Now, this first role that she gets is really small. It's basically just one line. But when the studio has trouble finding a leading lady for Norman's next film, The Enchanted Hour, well, Norman persuades Oliver to put Vicki in the role. Vicki is a huge hit. This is where that screening comes in. So they put her in this role, they have the audience screen it, and they love her. So, that kind of launches her career. Well, not only does the audience love her, but the critics love her too. You know who they don't love? Norman Maine. Yeah, they don't love him. Well, Vicki and Norman are now romantically involved in real life. and he asks her to marry him. Now, at first she says no, but then she agrees because he promises he's going to give up drinking. They elope, and everything seems to be going well. Norman stays sober for a while, but that doesn't last long because the loss of his career is just too much for him, especially when he sees Vicky's popularity skyrocketing. Now, everything comes to a disastrous head when Vicky wins an Academy Award. She's up there with her acceptance speech, she's given her acceptance speech, and he bursts in and interrupts with this big scene. He's drunk, and he begins demanding that he gets awards for the worst acting of the year. It's all very embarrassing. But wait, it gets worse. In a move that foreshadows the Will Smith-Chris Rock slap at the Academy Award ceremony, several decades later, Norman accidentally slaps Vicky right there in front of everyone when he dramatically throws his arm back. All right, let's listen to that scene.
It is not only my pleasure, but my privilege to present this award to the actress who created the unforgettable Anna in Dream Without End, Miss Vicki Lester.
Ladies and gentlemen, when something like this happens to you and you try to tell how you feel about it, you find that out of all the words in the world, there are only two that really mean anything. Thank you. All I can do is to say them to you from my heart. All I can do is to keep on saying them.
Hey, that's fine. That's a very pretty speech, my dear. Very pretty. You said the right thing. I want to be the very first one to congratulate you on that valuable little piece of bric-a-brac. Now I want to make a speech. Gentlemen of the Academy and fellow suckers, I got one of those once for a best performance. They don't mean a thing. People get them every year. What I want's a special award, something nobody else can get. I want a statue for the worst performance of the year. In fact, I want 3 statues for the 3 worst performances of the year, because I've earned them.
Libby, start the music.
What I'm here to find out is, do I get them or do I get them? Now answer yes or no.
Norman, darling, let's go and sit down.
Oh, it's all so embarrassing. Well, Norman ends up in and out of treatment. He just kind of spirals out of control until ultimately Vicky decides that she's going to give up her career to devote herself to his rehabilitation. Now, Norman overhears her talking about this plan, and he drowns himself in the ocean. Yeah, this is the second week in a row that we've had a film where somebody kills themselves. Yeah, really a downer. Anyway, in this very dramatic way, Norman walks into the ocean and drowns himself. Well, this destroys Vicky. She decides to go home to the family, back on the farm, and give up show business. But that's when Grandma arrives back on the scene, and she convinces her to stay. She makes another film, and at its premiere, she's asked to say a few words to her fans. She begins by saying, "Hello, everybody. This is Mrs. Norman Maine." All right, so a little shout out to her late husband. Okay, that's our story. The death of one star and the rising of another. And heartbreak, just as Grandma said there would be. What do I think of this film? Well, I have mixed feelings. Let's have a short word from our pretend sponsor, and when we come back, I'll break down my rating.
Friends and ladies, are you out of pep? Out of sorts? Are you questioning your life choices? Wondering where the best years of your life have gone? Ah, darling, those feelings will always be with you. But you can forget them for a few minutes with a cup of warmth and good cheer from tender leaf tea. Just toss a tender leaf tea ball into a cup with some boiling water. Go on, do as I tell you. Ah, yes, I invite you to make it quick and easy. No pot, no strainer, no long wait. Excuse me, did you forget to wash your hands? How charming. But no worries, friends and ladies. Each tea ball comes in its individual sterile envelope, ensuring a sanitary drinking experience. Tender leaf tea balls. Ask your grocer about them today.
Hey, listeners, we really enjoy spending time with you here on the Idle Hour. If we've been doing a good job of keeping you company while you go about the business of your day, would you kindly consider subscribing to our YouTube channel or maybe following us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify? Liking our episodes, subscribing, and leaving comments on these platforms is the only way we can show them that we have friends out there. Thank you so much. And we're back. Now let's break down my rating. Now, generally speaking, I thought...
Jennifer, pardon me, Jennifer.
Nico, I was just getting to my rating.
1,000 apologies for this interruption. But I forgot to tell you that we have a new pretend sponsor.
Oh, we do?
We do. And I assured them that we would do their spot just prior to the film rating segment.
Oh, okay. Well, do I need to do an ad read?
No.
Are you doing the ad read? Honestly, I thought you did a pretty good job with the T-ball spot.
Thank you, but no.
Did they send something over?
No.
Well, what are we doing then?
I produced a commercial.
Really?
Yes. I wrote the script, hired the actors.
Wait, you hired actors? We don't have a budget for that, Nico.
Well, I mean, they're friends of mine. They're basically just doing it for the exposure.
Are they, AI generated?
Yes, but they are very convincing. You'll see.
And you wrote the script?
Yes, I did everything. I wrote the script, directed the actors, everything.
Well, it is kind of exciting to have a new pretend sponsor. So, what's the product?
You're going to love it.
I am, because, I haven't been totally wild about the pretend sponsors we've had in the past. T-balls are honestly the best we've had. I mean, we had fly swatters, prunes, nothing that I feel is elegant and sophisticated enough for our show. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree.
So the product is?
Step Freshy Foot Odor Guards.
Foot odor guards. Oh, Nico, come on, foot odor guards.
Just give it a chance. Let's play the spot.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
Amber, hello there. Amber.
Hi. How are you?
Rodney.
Oh, right. Rodney. How are you?
Good. You look fantastic.
Aw, thank you. Gosh, I'd love to stop and chat, but...
I'm sure you're busy.
Oh, you know how it is. Things to do, people to see.
Wow, you really do look great. A sight for sore eyes.
Thanks. Well, I'll see you around.
Wait. I was just noticing your sandals.
My sandals?
Yes. Your feet look so fresh and cool. It's a hot day, but I bet you're comfortable.
I really gotta go.
Sadly, I must wear these clunky boots all the year round, even on a day like today.
Oh, you do? Why's that?
It's foot odor, I'm afraid.
Oh my.
Yes, it's quite embarrassing.
Well, Rodney, I think my ride is here.
Of course. I don't want to keep you. You see, I'm just so lonely. It's just that, well, it is such a distressing problem.
Huh?
My feet.
Oh.
The odor is, well, it's overpowering. It's completely ruining my life. At the moment, the odor is contained within the boots.
Oh, goodness.
But when I take them off, well, people become alarmed.
Have you tried anything for it?
Like?
Oh, I don't know. How about Step Freshies?
You mean the cat litter? Such a bold idea. You intrigue me. But how would it work?
What? No, that's Fresh Step. I'm talking about Step Freshy Charcoal Foot Odor Guards.
Step Freshy? What is that?
They're shoe inserts infused with charcoal to absorb even the most offensive odors.
Interesting. Are they comfortable?
I mean, I guess so. They're padded, I think. My grandpa wears them.
But can I get them at Walmart?
I don't know. Probably.
Thanks, Amber. You have changed my life today.
Yeah. Well, gotta go.
Oh, one more thing, Amber.
What's that?
Would you have dinner with me?
Why don't you get those step freshie guards and we'll see.
Fantastic. It's a date.
Yowzers.
Well, what do you think? It's quite good, no?
I have no words.
It has everything. Strategic product placement, a moving storyline, romance, raw emotion.
Well, first of all, Nico, that spot is too long. I mean, it's over 2 minutes.
Bah, what's 2 minutes? I needed that to establish the characters' relationship.
Second of all, that Rodney character is creepy. No one's going to be interested in foot odor guards if he's associated with them.
Well, you have hurt my feelings. I'm very proud of the spot.
Well, what do the step freshie people think of it?
They trust my professional judgment.
Oh, they do. Well, listen, Nico.
What?
I think it just needs more work. You know, you're off to a good start, but let's not put this in this week's show. Can I count on you to edit it out? Nico? Nico.
Sure, if I have time.
What was that?
Nothing?
Anyway, if you rework it a bit, maybe we'll feature it on a future Idle Hour episode. Just not the Star is Born episode.
Sure.
Okay, so now let's get to the rating breakdown.
Listeners, I invite you to sit back and relax with an inspiring beverage. Maybe also get a pillow, as I am about to share with you some otherwise boring information about how Jennifer rates the films in this series. Films are placed into one of these categories. Unwatchable. These films are very bad. I beg you, do not be a fool and watch them. They are not worth your time. Then there are watchable films. These films are okay. You have my permission to watch them. They are entertaining and a nice way to pass the time. But please understand me when I say that these watchable films will not change the trajectory of your life in any way. Yes, I suppose you could watch them a second time. But come now, why would you want to? And now we come to our last group, the rewatchable films. These films are very good. You may think your life is already complete. I'm here to tell you it is not. Only when you have watched these films over and over and over again, can you truly say, you have lived. So friends and ladies, those are our film categories. Unwatchable, watchable, and rewatchable. Now Jennifer has some sort of worksheet she uses to categorize the films, but no one really cares about that. So, we move on. Are there any questions? No? Very good. I thank you for your attention. Now, let's get on with the show.
My general impression of A Star is Born is that it's a pretty forgettable film, honestly. I mean, maybe I didn't love it because I wanted it to be something else. You know, I wanted it to be about Esther Blodgett scrapping and sacrificing to be successful and then finally hitting it big. And then once she's a star, you know, making the hard choices about the kind of person she wants to be as a star. I mean, I guess you could make the argument that we do see something of that last part. I mean, she decides to honor her husband with her ongoing career. I mean, is that what happened? I guess that's what that ending meant. I don't know. It just wasn't very satisfying to me. Now, ultimately, this was a story of the price of fame. Norman Maine was destroyed when he wasn't adored anymore. So Esther gains adoring fans while he loses his and he can't cope with it. It's also the story of the price of dreams come true. There is no dream realized without a broken heart, as we learn in that early scene with Grandma. Okay, so let's break it all down. For story, I gave it 3 diamonds. It was okay. For character development, 3 diamonds. I honestly thought the characters were kind of flimsy. They just didn't do much for me. Writing, 3 diamonds again, which actually disappoints me because one of the writers on this was Dorothy Parker. And we talked a little bit about Dorothy Parker on our last episode. I'm a fan of hers, and I didn't love the writing in this. Pace, I'm going to give it 4 stars, or 4 diamonds. I thought the story moved along pretty well. There was never a point at which I thought, wow, this is really dragging on, so I'll say that for it. And discussability, 3 diamonds. I'm just not sure there's a lot more to say about this film than what we've already covered. You know, if I was doing like a film club or something, I don't know really what we would talk about with this film. That brings us to a score of 3.2 diamonds, which places it in the watchable category. Okay, well, this was not a favorite film for me, but I am glad I watched it, if for no other reason than to see how the whole Star is Born franchise began. Now, if you haven't already seen this film and you'd like to, you can catch it for free out on YouTube. Now for our Wildcard segment. Wildcard number 1, the Disney Laugh-O-Gram Studios Restoration Project. Well, allow me to share a little bit of local news with you that I'm excited about. I'm coming to you from Kansas City, Missouri, home of Walt Disney's first animation studio, Laugh-O-Gram Studio, where he and his friend Ub Iwerks and other Disney animation paragons worked from 1921 to 1923. Now, if you're a Walt Disney fan at all, you know that Missouri plays a huge role in his story. As a boy, the family moved to Marceline, which is about 2 hours northeast of Kansas City. I've been to Marceline a few times, and while it's a really small town, they have done a fantastic job of playing up the whole Disney connection there. You know, first of all, they have a wonderful museum, really nice. And there are other landmarks around town where that you can see as well, where the family lived, the family barn. They recreated the barn. You can go and see that. You can see the house where he lived. Now, that house is a private residence, so you can't actually go inside, but there is a sign that indicates that it was his house. Now, if you've seen Main Street USA at the Disney parks, well, you've gotten a little taste of Marceline's Main Street because Marceline served as the model. Anyway, Marceline has done a fabulous job preserving their Disney history. Kansas City, on the other hand, played a giant role in the Disney story, and we've done almost nothing with it until now. A project is underway called Thank You, Walt Disney, and it's driven by business leaders and creatives aimed at the preservation and restoration of that historic studio. So that building still stands. Now, can I just say it is about time? You know, Disney fans near and far have often complained that Kansas City has really fallen down on the job when it comes to celebrating our Disney connection. So finally, we have some progress. Well, here's a little history of Disney's studio life in Kansas City from the Thank You Walt Disney website. The work Walt Disney did at the Laugh-O-Gram studio set the pattern for his entire amazing career in film production. He made several one-reel animated cartoons there, which were based loosely on classic children's fairy tales. Walt made both animated and live-action films there, including some designed to be shown in conjunction with music published by the Jenkins Music Company in Kansas City, as well as films of himself and his crew cavorting in Swope Park. Sidebar, Swope Park is still an active area of Kansas City. That's still a thing. Okay, back to the article. Shortly after founding Laugh-O-Gram Films, Walt decided that he could no longer afford the expense of keeping his apartment. He moved into Laugh-O-Gram, and it became both his home and his place of employment. As he slept there at night, he heard mice come out looking for the crumbs of his employees' lunches that were tossed into a wire wastebasket. He began to put out food for these mice, luring them closer to him each night. One mouse, however, was braver than the rest. Eventually, that mouse became tame, and he played on Walt's drawing board while he worked. The mouse stayed in a drawer of his desk and in a small cage Walt bought for him. Sadly, the studio went bankrupt in 1923, and Walt took his portfolio to Los Angeles. However, before he left Kansas City, he made a point of taking his mouse companion out into the countryside so he would not fall victim to the cats that lived in the restaurant on the first floor of the Lafagran building. 5 years later, that mouse inspired the creation of the world's most famous fictional character, Mickey Mouse. Okay, now, is that true? Or is that a myth? It doesn't really sound true, does it? But I can tell you that we Kansas Cityans have been claiming credit for Mickey Mouse for years. So I don't know exactly what's true and what's fiction there, but I like the story. I'm going to believe it. Wildcard number 2, the evolution of hobbies. Okay, this is on my mind lately. And I thought I would just talk about it briefly here on the Idle Hour. You know, on an episode of the Idle Hour a couple of weeks back, I mentioned that I had started a Substack. Well, since then, I started another Substack. So now I have 2. I have the Idle Hour Notebook. That's what I had talked about before. But now I also have one that's directly related to this show, the Vintage Century Idle Hour Companion. I'm providing viewers' guides and rating scorecards for the movies that we feature on this show. So if anyone wants to pull some friends together and discuss these films, there are materials out there. It's all free. And, you know, so far, true to my brand, I'm doing a terrible job of promoting those things that are out there. And so I have 0 traffic. Now, I don't really care about the traffic, if I'm honest, because I've been working on these things that I put out on Substack anyway. These are hobbies of mine, and I just do them for me, you know, as a creative outlet. But one of the things that is really starting to annoy me about Substack, and I kind of get this with YouTube also sometimes, is that I keep getting all these emails now about how to increase traffic in order to monetize my stacks. And, you know, that got me to thinking, why do we all feel like we have to monetize our hobbies now? You know, a former coworker of mine quilts, and she was recently showing everybody her most recent creation, and it was beautiful. She does beautiful work. Well, what did we all say when we saw this quilt? Oh, you should sell these. And I got to thinking, why did we all go there? Why can't we just create for the sake of creating? Why is there this default assumption now that we need to aim for making a profit on the things that we do in our spare time? I've really been thinking about this a lot because I do a lot of things in my spare time. So I was kind of curious, you know, what were hobbies like back in the day? You know, back in 1937. Let's use that year because that's when A Star is Born came out. So, you know, what were the popular hobbies back then? What was the ultimate game plan? You know, was it just to have a creative outlet? Was it just to do something enjoyable? Was it just about learning something new? Or was it, like it seems to be today, to build things, produce things that you could then sell? Well, we live in a wondrous age. Would you believe that I found an old Hobbies weekly newsletter dated back to April of 1937? Yes, I did. I was even surprised that I was able to find that. But anyway, I kind of flipped through this, and here are the kinds of hobbies that they featured. There were a lot of wood crafts. Now, the big featured project in this issue was how to make your own canoe. But there were other things that you could make too, such as a telescope, a stool, a step stool. There was also instructions for how to create a pair of dice from sugar cubes. Okay, so, lots of things that you can make. There was a little article on home chemistry experiments. That apparently was another pastime. There was a whole section on stamp collecting, of course. I know that had been very popular back in the day. There was a section on photography and a section on models, particularly the building of model ships. So they had an article on how to build a model of the Queen Mary, but there were other ships as well. So the whole idea behind these projects was finding fulfilling ways to occupy your leisure time and take pride in what you were able to accomplish, imagine, for example, how great you would feel come summertime paddling around in a canoe that you made with your own two hands. It wasn't about making things to sell or monetizing your interests. It was about creating things because human beings are imaginative, creative beings. It was all about hobbies for the sake of hobbies and nothing else. That is, until I got to the last page of the newsletter. On that page, there was an advertisement for a small at-home printing press. You can save money printing your own documents, it said, and you can make newsletters of your own to sell to your neighbors. Ah, there it is. I guess human nature is human nature after all. Wildcard number 3, The Words of Dorothy Parker. Dorothy Parker was on this screenwriting team of A Star is Born. And if you recall from our episode on Stage Door, we had talked about how she had criticized at one time one of Katharine Hepburn's stage performances as running the gamut of emotions from A to B. So I thought we would close out our episode today with a few words from Dorothy Parker. Now, who was she? Well, she was a screenwriter, a critic, a poet, and a fiction writer. She was also a founding member of the Algonquin Round Table. That was a group of writers, critics, and actors who met each day for lunch at the Algonquin Hotel in New York from 1919 to around 1929. Known for her sharp, biting wit, she was pretty sarcastic. Many of her quotes are well known even to this day. If you've ever heard the saying, "Men rarely make passes at girls who wear glasses," well, you've heard Dorothy Parker. Well, let's leave things here tonight with this sentiment from Dorothy Parker. If I don't drive around the park, I'm pretty sure to make my mark. If I'm in bed each night by 10, I may get back my looks again. If I abstain from fun and such, I'll probably amount to much. But I shall stay the way I am, because I do not give a damn. Ah, well, that's the end of our show. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Our next episode is our Christmas show. We're going to be featuring 2 Golden Age films, The Shop Around the Corner and one of my favorites, Miracle on 34th Street. We're going to have our own little virtual Christmas party, so we hope you'll join us. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now. Say goodbye, Nico.
Goodbye, Nico.